What happens when the man you always thought would forgive you finally stops being your backup plan and serves you with papers instead? Can a husband who's been humiliated in front of friends and family turn the tables using only evidence and the law? The day I opened the door and held those documents in my hands, I realized maybe the real joke was on me. The champagne was still fizzing in my glass when I slapped Caleb across the face at Jennifer's birthday party. Everyone laughed, everyone except my husband, who stood there with that red handprint blooming across his cheek like some twisted flower. "Oh, come on, Cal," I giggled, wrapping my arm around Jasper's waist. "It's just a joke. You know I love you." But Caleb didn't laugh. He didn't even smile that tight, uncomfortable smile he usually gave when I pushed too far. Instead, he picked up his jacket from the back of his chair and walked toward the door. "Caleb, where are you going?" I called after him, but he was already gone. Jasper squeezed my shoulder. "Don't worry about him, Ivadne. He'll get over it. He always does." That's what I thought too. Caleb always got over it. He got over the late nights when I didn't come home. He got over the expensive gifts I bought myself with our joint account. He got over the way I flirted with other men right in front of him. My husband was predictable like that. Quiet, methodical, always willing to forgive and forget. When I got home that night, still buzzing from the party and Jasper's attention, I found Caleb in his study. He was sitting at his desk, writing something in a notebook I'd never seen before. "Baby, I'm sorry about tonight," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "You know I didn't mean anything by it." He looked up at me with those dark eyes that used to make my heart skip. Now they just looked tired. "I know exactly what you meant, Ivadne." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." He closed the notebook and slipped it into the desk drawer. When he turned the key in the lock, something cold settled in my stomach. Caleb had never locked anything from me before. "What are you writing in there?" "Just work stuff." I knew he was lying, but I was too tired to fight about it. Besides, what could boring, predictable Caleb possibly be hiding? Probably just more of his obsessive organizing. The man kept spreadsheets for everything: our grocery budget, our utility bills, even our anniversary dates going back to when we first met. "Come to bed," I said, trying to sound seductive. "I'll be up in a minute." But when I woke up the next morning, his side of the bed was cold. I found him in the kitchen, already dressed for work, eating toast and reading something on his phone. "You're up early," I said, pouring myself coffee. "Couldn't sleep." I studied his face, looking for signs of the hurt I'd seen last night, but his expression was blank, almost businesslike. "Look, about last night. Forget about it, Ivadne. Like you said, it was just a joke." But the way he said it made my skin crawl. There was something different in his voice, something I couldn't quite place. It was like he was talking to a stranger instead of his wife. My phone buzzed with a text from Jasper. "Coffee later. Want to make sure you're okay after last night." I glanced at Caleb, who was still staring at his phone, and typed back, "Definitely. Meet you at Starbucks on 5th at 2. When I looked up, Caleb was watching me. "Who's that?" "Just my sister Lynn. She's worried about Mom." Another lie, but Caleb just nodded and went back to his phone. He used to ask follow-up questions, used to care about the details of my day. Now he seemed almost relieved to not know. That afternoon, Jasper and I sat in our usual corner booth at Starbucks. He was telling me about some project at his marketing firm, but I was only half listening. I kept thinking about that locked drawer and the way Caleb had looked at me this morning. "You're distracted," Jasper said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "Still thinking about last night?" "It's just, Caleb was acting weird this morning. Different." "Different how?" "I don't know. Distant, I guess. He locked his desk drawer, which he's never done before." Jasper laughed. "Maybe he's finally developing some boundaries. Good for him." "It's not funny, Jazz. What if he's what? Finally standing up for himself? Ivadne, you've been walking all over that man for years. Maybe it's time he grew a spine." The way he said it made me defensive. I don't walk all over him. We have a good relationship. You slapped him in front of 20 people last night. That was different. I was drunk and you were being flirty and you took it out on your husband instead of telling me to back off. I stared at him. Are you taking his side now? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just saying maybe you should apologize. Really apologize, not just brush it off like you usually do. But I didn't want to apologize. What was the point? Caleb would forgive me eventually. He always did. And if he was going to be moody about it, well, that was his problem. When I got home that evening, I found a new lock on Caleb's study door. The photo went viral by accident. I'd posted it on Instagram without thinking. Just a casual shot of me and Jasper at the coffee shop, his hand covering mine on the table. The caption read, "Some friends just get you, ayu, blessed, enrune, real friends, Jen living my best life." Within hours, it had dozens of likes and comments. My friends from work were eating it up. "Girl, you look so happy." "Is this the guy from Jennifer's party? He's cute. Your husband is so lucky to have such a fun wife." That last comment made me pause. Sarah from accounting had been at the party. She'd seen me slap Caleb. Was she being sarcastic? I decided she wasn't. Sarah was too sweet to be catty. Besides, people love drama, and I was giving them what they wanted. A glimpse into my exciting life with my exciting friend. I posted another photo the next day, this one from our lunch date. Jasper had his arm around my shoulders, and we were both laughing at something he'd said. The likes poured in again. But on Wednesday morning, my phone rang at 8:30 sharp. "Ivadne Hartley, this is Patricia Williams from Human Resources. I need you to come to my office immediately." My stomach dropped. Patricia Williams was the head of HR, not my usual contact for routine stuff. "Is everything okay? We'll discuss it when you get here." The walk to HR felt like a death march. I tried to think of what I might have done wrong. Missed deadlines, inappropriate emails, too many personal calls, but came up empty. I was a good employee, not the best maybe, but certainly not the worst. Patricia's office was small and sterile, with motivational posters about teamwork and integrity covering the walls. She gestured for me to sit across from her desk, where my personnel file was already open. "Ivadne, we've received some concerns about your recent social media activity." My social media? She turned her computer screen toward me. There was my Instagram page, open to the photos of me and Jasper. Several clients have brought these posts to our attention. They're concerned about the professional image of our company. I stared at the screen, confused. "I don't understand. These are just photos with a friend." "A friend who isn't your husband?" "So?" Patricia's expression hardened. "So our clients expect a certain level of professionalism from our staff. When you post intimate photos with men who aren't your spouse, it reflects poorly on the company." "Intimate? We're just having coffee. In this photo, his hand is on yours. In this one, his arm is around you. And according to several witnesses, you were publicly affectionate with this same man at a recent party where you also struck your husband." My face burned. "That was a private party. It has nothing to do with work." "Everything you do reflects on this company, Ivadne. Your behavior is becoming a distraction." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need to clean up your act. Remove the inappropriate posts, maintain professional boundaries, and remember that you represent this company both in and out of the office." I wanted to argue, to tell her she was being ridiculous, but I needed this job. Caleb's salary was good, but not good enough to support both of us without my income. "Fine," I said through gritted teeth, "I'll take down the posts." "Good. And Ivadne, no more incidents. This is your only warning." I left HR feeling humiliated and angry. Who had complained? Which of my co-workers had been watching my Instagram like hawks, just waiting for me to slip up? When I got back to my desk, I opened Instagram to delete the photos, but then I stopped. Why should I have to hide my friendships? Why should I pretend to be someone I wasn't just to make other people comfortable? Instead of deleting them, I posted another photo, this one from the night before, when Jasper and I had grabbed drinks after work. We looked happy and carefree, and I captioned it, "Life's too short to worry about what other people think." Authentic, kaka no regrets, dash friendship. The likes and comments came flooding in again, but this time there were a few negative ones mixed in. "Girl, where's your husband? This doesn't look like just friends to me." Some boundaries, maybe. I deleted those comments immediately. Haters were going to hate, but I wasn't going to let them bring me down. That night, I found Caleb in his study again, typing on his laptop. The door was open this time, but when I walked in, he quickly minimized whatever he'd been working on. "What are you doing?" "Just organizing some files." I tried to peek at the screen, but he'd already closed the laptop. "What kind of files?" "Nothing important. How was work?" The question caught me off guard. Caleb rarely asked about my day anymore. "It was fine. Patricia from HR wanted to talk to me about some stupid policy thing." "What kind of policy thing?" I hesitated. If I told him about the Instagram photos, he might make a big deal out of it. He might ask me to stop seeing Jasper, and I wasn't ready for that conversation. "Just dress code stuff, boring administrative nonsense." He nodded, but something in his expression told me he didn't believe me. "Ivadne, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you happy?" The question was so unexpected, so earnest, that I didn't know how to answer. "What do you mean?" "I mean, are you happy with your life? With us?" I studied his face, looking for the trap in the question. "Of course I'm happy. Why would you ask that?" "No reason, just wondering." But there was something in his eyes that made me uncomfortable. A sadness, maybe, or disappointment. I wanted to ask him what he was really thinking, but part of me was afraid of the answer. "I'm going to bed," I said instead. "I'll be up soon." But again, when I woke up the next morning, his side of the bed was cold. Sunday lunch at the Hartley house had always been a tradition, but lately it felt more like a trial. Caleb's parents, Richard and Eleanor, had been married for 35 years and still held hands while saying grace. His sister Lydia was 25 and had never been shy about speaking her mind. Usually, I enjoyed these gatherings. They made me feel like part of a real family, something I'd never had growing up. But today, walking up the front steps with Caleb trailing silently behind me, I felt like I was walking into an ambush. "Ivadne! Caleb!" Eleanor opened the door with her usual warm smile, but I caught the way her eyes lingered on the space between us. Come in. Lunch is almost ready." The dining room smelled like pot roast and fresh bread, and for a moment, I felt nostalgic for the early days of our marriage, when these Sunday meals felt like a celebration instead of an obligation. "How's work, Ivadne?" Richard asked as we took our seats. He was a man of few words, but when he spoke, everyone listened. "It's good. Busy, but good." Lydia looked up from her phone. "I saw your Instagram posts. You've been having fun lately." The way she said it made my stomach clench. "Just spending time with friends. Nothing wrong with that." "Of course not," Eleanor said quickly. "It's important to have friendships outside of marriage." "Is it important to humiliate your husband in public?" Lydia asked, setting down her phone. The silence that followed was deafening. Caleb continued cutting his meat as if nothing had happened, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. "Lydia," Eleanor warned. "What? Everyone's thinking it. Jennifer posted the video on her Facebook page. Half the town has seen it by now." My face burned. It was a joke, a stupid, drunken joke. Slapping your husband in front of 20 people is a joke. "Lydia, that's enough," Richard said quietly. But Lydia wasn't finished. "No, Dad, it's not enough. Caleb is my brother, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's okay for his wife to treat him like garbage." "I don't treat him like garbage." "Really? When's the last time you posted a photo with your husband? When's the last time you went on a date with him instead of with Jasper?" How do you... Instagram is public, Ivadne. We can all see what you're doing. I looked around the table, searching for support, but Eleanor was staring at her plate, and Richard was watching Caleb with concern. Even Caleb wasn't defending me. Say something, I hissed at him. He looked up from his food, his expression unreadable. What would you like me to say? Tell them they're wrong. Tell them we're fine. Are we fine, Ivadne? The question hung in the air like smoke. I could feel everyone watching us, waiting for my answer. Of course we're fine. We're married. We love each other. Do we? I stared at him in shock. In 8 years of marriage, Caleb had never questioned our relationship in public. He'd never put me on the spot like this. What kind of question is that? An honest one. Lydia leaned forward. When's the last time you told him you loved him, Ivadne? When's the last time you acted like you were happy to be married to him? That's none of your business. It became my business when you started embarrassing him in front of the whole town. I pushed back from the table, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. No, Lydia said calmly, you don't. But maybe you should ask yourself why you don't want to. I looked at Caleb, expecting him to follow me, to defend me, to do something. But he just sat there, cutting his pot roast into precise, methodical pieces. Fine, I said. I'll wait in the car. I stormed out of the house and sat in the passenger seat, fuming. How dare they judge me? How dare they act like they knew anything about my marriage? Caleb and I had our problems, sure, but what couple didn't? 20 minutes later, Caleb emerged from the house. He got in the driver's seat without looking at me and started the engine. Are you going to say anything? I asked as we pulled out of the driveway. What would you like me to say? You could start by defending me. Your sister just attacked me in front of your parents, and you sat there like a bump on a log. She wasn't attacking you, Ivadne. She was telling the truth. The truth? The truth is that I made one mistake at a party, and now everyone's acting like I'm some kind of monster. One mistake? I looked at his profile, trying to read his expression. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. No, clearly it means something. Say what you're thinking. He was quiet for a long moment, his hands gripping the steering wheel. When he finally spoke, his voice was so soft I almost didn't hear him. I can't remember the last time you looked at me the way you look at him. Look at who? Jasper. My stomach dropped. Caleb, there's nothing. I'm not stupid, Ivadne. I see the way you light up when he texts you. I see the way you dress when you're going to meet him. I see the way you smile in those photos. He's just a friend. Is he? The question was simple, but I couldn't answer it, because the truth was, I didn't know anymore. Jasper made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. He made me laugh, made me feel attractive and interesting and fun. When I was with him, I forgot about bills and responsibilities and the mundane reality of married life. I need friends, Caleb. I need people who understand me. And I don't understand you. I looked out the window at the passing houses, each one representing a life I'd never live, choices I'd never make. Sometimes I feel like you don't even see me anymore. How can I see you when you're never here? I'm here. No, you're not. You're physically here, but your mind is always somewhere else, someone else. We pulled into our driveway and Caleb turned off the engine. For a moment, we just sat there in the silence. What do you want from me? I asked finally. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my chest tight. I want my wife back. The locked drawer became an obsession. Every time I walked past Caleb's study, I found myself staring at it, wondering what he was hiding in there. It wasn't like him to be secretive. In 8 years of marriage, we'd shared everything. Bank accounts, passwords, even our most embarrassing stories from before we met. But now he was keeping secrets, and it was driving me crazy. I tried asking him about it directly. What's in the drawer, Cal? Just paperwork. What kind of paperwork? Boring stuff. insurance forms, tax documents. But I knew he was lying. We kept all our important documents in the filing cabinet in the basement. And besides, why would he need to lock up tax forms? On Thursday morning, while Caleb was in the shower, I tried the drawer again. Still locked. I searched his dresser for the key, checked his jacket pockets, even looked under his side of the mattress. Nothing. When he came out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around his waist, he caught me going through his nightstand. Looking for something, I slammed the drawer shut. Just my earrings. I thought I might have left them over here. He didn't say anything, but I could see in his eyes that he knew I was lying. That afternoon, I met Jasper for lunch at our usual place. He was already waiting in our corner booth, scrolling through his phone and looking annoyingly handsome in his blue button-down shirt. "You look stressed," he said as I slid into the seat across from him. "Caleb's acting weird. He's keeping secrets from me." "What kind of secrets?" I told him about the locked drawer, the mysterious phone calls, the way Caleb had been watching me lately, not with love or concern, but with something that looked almost like calculation. "Maybe he's planning something nice for you," Jasper suggested. "Anniversary surprise or something." "Our anniversary isn't for 6 months. "Birthday?" "Not for 4 months." Jasper shrugged. "Then maybe he's just finally developing some privacy boundaries. Married couples don't have to share everything, you know. We always have before. And look how well that's worked out." I stared at him. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. I just think maybe some space might be good for both of you." "Space?" "Yeah, you know. Time to figure out what you really want." The way he said it made my pulse quicken. "What do you think I want?" He reached across the table and covered my hand with his. "I think you want to be happy, and I think you deserve to be with someone who appreciates you." "Caleb appreciates me." "Does he? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like he takes you for granted." I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come, because lately, it did feel like Caleb was taking me for granted. He barely looked up when I came home from work. He didn't compliment my new haircut or notice when I wore his favorite dress. It was like I'd become invisible in my own marriage. "You're not invisible to me," Jasper said, as if he'd read my mind. "What?" "You're thinking about how he doesn't see you anymore. But I see you, Ivadne. I see how smart you are, how funny, how beautiful. I see everything he's missing." My heart was pounding now. "Jasper, I'm not saying you should do anything drastic. I'm just saying you deserve better than being ignored." When I got home that evening, I found Caleb in the kitchen, making dinner. He'd changed out of his work clothes into jeans and a t-shirt, and for a moment he looked like the man I'd fallen in love with all those years ago. "Smells good," I said, trying to sound normal. "Just spaghetti, nothing fancy." I watched him stir the sauce, noting the careful precision of his movements. Everything Caleb did was precise. The way he folded laundry, the way he balanced our checkbook, the way he organized his desk. It used to be comforting. Now it felt suffocating. "How was lunch with Lynn?" he asked without looking at me. I froze. I'd told him I was having lunch with my sister, but I'd been with Jasper. "It was fine. She's worried about Mom's blood pressure." "That's too bad. Maybe she should see a specialist." "Yeah, maybe." We ate dinner in relative silence, making small talk about work and the weather. It felt like we were strangers sharing a meal, not husband and wife. After dinner, Caleb disappeared into his study again. I could hear him typing, the steady click, click, click of keys that went on for hours. When I went to bed at 10:30, he was still at it. I woke up at 2 a.m. to use the bathroom and noticed light still coming from under his study door. What was he working on that was so important it kept him up half the night? The next morning, I woke up alone again. Caleb was already gone. Not just out of bed, but out of the house. His car wasn't in the driveway, and there was no note explaining where he'd gone. I called his cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's me. Where are you? Call me back." He didn't call back. I spent the morning pacing around the house, checking my phone every few minutes. Where could he have gone so early on a Saturday morning? The grocery store didn't open until 8. The gym didn't open until 6. And Caleb wasn't much of a workout person anyway. At noon, I heard his car in the driveway. I rushed to the window and watched him get out, carrying a manila folder and what looked like a small recording device. "Where were you?" I asked, as soon as he walked through the door. "Running errands." "What kind of errands? It's Saturday morning. Nothing's open." "Some things are open." "Like what?" He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his expression that made my blood run cold. "Like law offices." The party at Jasper's apartment was supposed to be small, just a few friends celebrating his promotion at the marketing firm. But by the time I arrived, there were at least 30 people crammed into his one-bedroom place, music pumping, drinks flowing, everyone having the kind of fun I'd forgotten was possible. "Ivadne," Jasper appeared at my side almost immediately, pressing a glass of wine into my hand. "You made it." "Wouldn't miss it," I said, taking a sip. The wine was good, better than anything Caleb and I usually bought. "Congratulations on the promotion." "Thanks, I'm so glad you're here." He put his arm around my waist, pulling me closer, and I felt that familiar flutter in my stomach. Around us, people were laughing and dancing, and for the first time in months, I felt like I belonged somewhere. "Let me introduce you to some people," Jasper said, leading me toward a group by the window. For the next 2 hours, I felt like the most interesting person in the room. Jasper's friends were creative types, artists and writers and musicians, and they hung on my every word as I told stories about my boring office job, making even the most mundane tasks sound hilarious. "You're so funny," said a woman named Rebecca, who worked at an art gallery downtown. "Your husband must love your sense of humor." "Oh, Caleb doesn't really get my jokes," I said, taking another sip of wine. "He's more of the serious type." "That must be hard," said Marcus, a freelance photographer. "Being married to someone who doesn't appreciate your personality." "It is sometimes." Jasper squeezed my shoulder. "Ivadne's got the best laugh. Show them, Iv." I giggled, feeling warm and appreciated and slightly drunk. "I don't know what you mean." "Come on, do that thing where you snort a little when something's really funny." "I do not snort." "You totally do. It's adorable." Everyone was looking at me expectantly, smiling, waiting for me to perform. So I did. I threw back my head and let out an exaggerated laugh, complete with the little snort that Caleb had always said was embarrassing. But these people didn't think it was embarrassing. They thought it was charming. "See," Jasper said, pulling me closer. "Adorable." The night went on like that, me being the center of attention, Jasper's arm around me, everyone treating me like I was fascinating instead of just a 32-year-old administrative assistant from the suburbs. "We should get a picture," Rebecca suggested around midnight, "to commemorate Jasper's promotion." "Great idea," Jasper said, pulling out his phone. We posed together, his arm around my shoulders, both of us grinning at the camera. Then Rebecca took a few more shots, and Marcus insisted on getting some candid photos of us talking and laughing. "These are perfect," Jasper said, scrolling through the pictures. "You look beautiful, Iv." I leaned over to see the photos, and he was right. I did look beautiful, happy and carefree and alive in a way I hadn't looked in years. "Send them to me," I said impulsively. "You sure?" "Yeah, why not?" So he did, and I posted the best one on Instagram before I could think better of it. The caption read, "Sometimes you find your tribe in the most unexpected places. Tanas blessed nonagis good friends, living my best life." The likes started coming in immediately, along with comments from friends and co-workers. "You look so happy." "Love this for you." "Girl, you're glowing." But there were other comments too, ones that made my stomach clench. "Where's Caleb?" "This doesn't look appropriate for a married woman." "Your husband must be so proud." I deleted those comments quickly, but they kept coming. People I barely knew were weighing in on my life, my marriage, my choices. Part of me wanted to delete the whole post, but another part of me, the part that was still buzzing from the attention and the wine, refused to let the haters win. Instead, I posted another photo, this one of just me and Jasper, his hand on my cheek as he whispered something in my ear. I captioned it, "Real friends don't judge, they just love you for who you are." Authentic, there are no regrets. When I got home at 2 a.m., the house was dark. Caleb's car was in the driveway, but he was nowhere to be found. I checked the bedroom, empty. The living room, empty. Finally, I found him in his study, asleep at his desk with his head pillowed on a stack of papers. "Cal?" I whispered, touching his shoulder. He startled awake, blinking in confusion. "What time is it?" "Late. Come to bed." He looked at me for a long moment, taking in my smeared makeup and wrinkled dress. "How was the party?" "It was fun. Jasper got promoted." "I know. You mentioned that." Something in his tone made me defensive. "Is there a problem?" "No problem." He stood up, gathering the papers on his desk. "I'm glad you had fun." But he didn't sound glad. He sounded tired and sad and maybe a little bit angry. "What were you working on?" I asked, trying to see the papers. He slid them into a folder before I could get a good look. "Just organizing some things." "What kind of things?" "Nothing important." He locked the folder in his desk drawer, the same drawer I'd been trying to get into for weeks. "We should go to bed." The next morning, I woke up to find Caleb already gone again. But this time, he'd left a note. "Gone to my parents' house. Back tonight." I spent the day lounging around in my pajamas, scrolling through social media and basking in the attention from last night's photos. The post had gotten over 100 likes, more than anything I'd ever shared before. But there were more negative comments too, and this time they weren't just from strangers. Lynn, my sister. "Ivadne, call me. We need to talk." Sarah from work. "Girl, maybe think twice before posting stuff like this." Even Eleanor, Caleb's mother, had commented, "I hope you're being careful, dear." I deleted all of them and blocked anyone who left negative comments. I didn't need that kind of negativity in my life. When Caleb came home that evening, he was carrying a box of his belongings from his childhood bedroom. Old books, photo albums, a baseball trophy from high school. "Spring cleaning at your parents' house?" I asked. "Something like that." He carried the box upstairs, and I heard him moving around in our bedroom for a while. When I went up later, I found that he'd rearranged his side of the closet, moving some of his clothes to the guest room. "What are you doing?" "Just making some space." "Space for what?" He looked at me with those tired eyes again. "For whatever comes next." The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was getting ready for work. I heard the doorbell ring, but by the time I got downstairs, whoever had delivered it was gone. There was just a thick manila envelope on the doormat, with my name written in block letters across the front. Inside, I found a USB drive, a stack of printed documents, and a letter in Caleb's careful handwriting. "Dear Ivadne," it began, "by the time you read this, you'll understand why I couldn't have this conversation face to face. The enclosed documents contain evidence of your extramarital affair with Jasper, including photographs, social media posts, text messages, and witness statements. I've filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery and emotional abandonment. My attorney will be in touch regarding the division of assets and custody arrangements." My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the paper. Custody arrangements? We didn't have kids. I kept reading. "I've also documented your misuse of our joint financial accounts, including unauthorized purchases totaling $12,847 over the past 6 months. This money will need to be repaid as part of the settlement." $12,000? I tried to think of what I could have spent that much money on, but my mind was blank. The letter continued. I want you to know that I don't hate you, Ivadne. I'm disappointed, and I'm hurt, but mostly I'm just tired. I'm tired of being treated like a convenience instead of a husband. I'm tired of being humiliated in front of our friends and family. I'm tired of pretending that what we have is a marriage when it's really just two people sharing a house. I sank onto the couch, still clutching the letter. I've spent the last 2 months documenting everything, every lie, every secret meeting, every public humiliation, not because I wanted to hurt you, but because I wanted to protect myself. I knew that when this day came, you'd try to rewrite history. You'd claim I was the problem, that I drove you away, that I never appreciated you. But the evidence speaks for itself. Evidence. I looked at the USB drive with growing dread. I've copied everything to the enclosed drive. Screenshots of your social media posts, photos from Jasper's parties, records of your spending, even some audio recordings from conversations you thought were private. It's all there, Ivadne. Every moment you chose him over me, every lie you told, every dollar you spent on yourself while claiming we were broke. Audio recordings? How had he... My phone rang. It was Jasper. Ivadne, we need to talk. Something's happened. What do you mean? Just meet me at Starbucks, now. I threw on clothes and drove to our usual meeting spot, the letter and USB drive burning in my purse like evidence of a crime I didn't remember committing. Jasper was already there, looking pale and shaken. Did you get one too? Get what? He pulled out an envelope identical to the one I'd received. Your husband is more thorough than I gave him credit for. What's in yours? Photos of us together, copies of our text messages, a formal notice that he's considering filing a civil suit for alienation of affection. Can he do that? Apparently, yes. In some states, you can sue the person who interfered with your marriage. He ran his hands through his hair. Ivadne, there are pictures in here I don't even remember taking. How long has he been watching us? I thought about all those nights Caleb had stayed up late in his study, all the mysterious phone calls, all the locked drawers and secret folders. Months, probably. This is bad, really bad. My company has a morality clause in their contracts. If this gets out, I could lose my job. Your job? What about my marriage? He looked at me like I'd said something absurd. Your marriage? Ivadne, your marriage has been over for months. You just didn't want to admit it. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you and Caleb had a real conversation? When's the last time you went on a date together, or even watched a movie without you being on your phone the whole time? I wanted to argue, but I couldn't think of a single example. Look, Jasper continued, I care about you, I really do. But I can't be in the middle of this anymore. It's too messy, and frankly, it's too risky for me. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we should take a break, let things cool down. A break? Just until your divorce is finalized and things settle down. I stared at him in disbelief. So you're abandoning me too? I'm not abandoning you. I'm being practical. This whole situation is toxic, and I need to protect myself. He left me sitting there in Starbucks, surrounded by the wreckage of my life, holding an envelope full of evidence that proved I was exactly the person everyone thought I was. When I got home, I found Caleb waiting in the living room. He was wearing his best suit, the one he'd worn to our wedding, and his hair was combed back the way it used to be when we first started dating. Hello, Ivadne. Cal, we need to talk about this. I held up the envelope. No, we don't. Everything that needed to be said is in that letter. But I can explain. Explain what? That you've been having an affair for months? That you've been lying to me every day? That you slapped me in front of our friends because you were too drunk and too selfish to control yourself? It wasn't an affair. You never what? Never kissed him? Never told him things you wouldn't tell me? Never chose his company over mine every single day for months? I opened my mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. Because he was right. I had chosen Jasper over Caleb, again and again, until choosing became a habit, and the habit became a lifestyle. "I want you to know," Caleb said quietly, "that I gave you every opportunity to stop. Every time you came home late, every time you lied about where you'd been, every time you posted those photos, I waited for you to remember that you had a husband who loved you, but you never did. I do love you. No, Ivadne, you love the idea of me. You love having someone to pay half the bills and fix things around the house and be your backup plan when your real life doesn't work out. But you don't love me." He stood up, smoothing down his tie. "My lawyer will contact you about the settlement. I've already moved my things to my parents' house." "Where are you going?" "Away from here, away from you, away from the person I became when I was trying to save a marriage that you'd already ended." He walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back to me. "The saddest part, Ivadne, is that I would have forgiven you. Even after everything, if you had come to me and been honest, if you had shown even a moment of genuine remorse, I would have tried to work things out. But you never did. You just kept lying and justifying and making excuses until there was nothing left to save." He opened the door, then paused one more time. "I hope Jasper was worth it." And then he was gone, leaving me alone in the house we'd shared for 8 years, holding evidence of my own betrayal, finally understanding that some jokes aren't funny and some games don't have winners. 6 months later, I signed the divorce papers in a lawyer's office downtown. Caleb wasn't there. He'd moved to another state for a new job, started fresh somewhere I'd never been. I heard through mutual friends that he was dating someone new, a teacher who laughed at his jokes and posted pictures of them together on social media, both of them looking genuinely happy. Jasper never called me back. I heard he got engaged to someone from his office, someone who didn't come with complications or legal documents, or a history of treating people like conveniences. I kept my job, barely, after promising HR that there would be no more incidents. I moved into a small apartment across town and tried to rebuild my life from scratch. Sometimes, late at night, I would look through the photos on my phone. Pictures of me and Caleb from our early days together, when we were young and in love and thought we had forever. In those photos, I'm looking at him the way I later looked at Jasper, like he was the most interesting person in the world. I don't know when I stopped looking at him that way. I don't know when I decided that excitement was more important than loyalty, or when I convinced myself that I deserved better than the man who had loved me exactly as I was. But I know now that some decisions can't be undone, and some hurt can't be healed, and some people won't wait forever for you to realize what you've lost. The real joke, it turned out, was on me,